Hello, welcome to Port Misery, a GH podcast where we try to find out why everyone in Port Charles is so miserable this week. It's Tara. It's been a minute. I've been recording. I have been recording, and I've been recording with Sunday Shift for the past 2 weeks because Tanya was sick and Tracy's like my digital bestie, and so I was like, yeah, I'll do that. And then we talked for so long. I was like, well, everyone could just hear me say things on that podcast. And I was so busy because the quarter ended, but like the quarter's finally ended. I'm still very busy. Never stops. But this isn't even the recap. This is not the recap. If you saw the thumbnail, it's not the recap. It is we need to talk about Drew Cain. We need to talk about Drew fucking Cain because Friday's episode was actually outrageous. It was actually outrageous. And I was like, oh my God, I can make my recap like way longer than it needs to be. Or I can just talk about this on its own because it's a real problem. If you haven't watched Friday's episode, it's like the weird Christmas episode. I guess it's Christmas Day, or it's the day after Christmas. I don't know. It's Boxing Day if you're British or Canadian. We don't celebrate that here in the US. It was December 26th is the beginning of Kwanzaa for us. But yeah, they're celebrating it after freaking Whitey's African warlord decides he's gonna like throw a party, invite all the people I personally hate on the show to go to attend. So it was just a compact, group of people I don't fuck with. Abel was there, Jordan, Drew and Willow showed up eventually, like all the people I can't stand. And before Drew and Willow get there, they're at his house. He's complaining to campaign manager, whomever, off-screen person who runs his congressional campaign, because Portia revealed on the stand that he was blackmailing her, and that's a crime. And so now at the trial, I'm gonna recap the trial in the actual recap episode, but the fucking trial was a shit show. That's all you need to know. Alexis, I don't know, like she might not have it no more. She might be cooked. She might be cooked as an attorney because this is actually outrageous behavior. But all you need to know from that trial is that people know that Drew was out here blackmailing people. And it's very weird because, like, let's keep it so real. His constituents have stuck with him through a lot. Like, through a lot. Like, he literally stole his nephew's wife publicly. Was not trying to be secret about this at all. Moved her in. He was burnt up in a clinic. She living in his house. They get engaged before they're even divorced. And the constituents they were like, all right, cool. We didn't hear shit from these constituents. But as soon as people found out he was blackmailing this doctor, and everyone's like, marrying your nephew's wife is, fine. But blackmailing this highly respected doctor, the fucking bridge too far. Okay, sure. Like, you think that his backstory would automatically disqualify him. But no, no, we just rocked with it. We just rocked with it. And so let's talk about Drew for a second, because in this like Friday episode, it's Drew talking to his campaign manager. Willow is with Scout, who is clearly sad. Willow's like, why are you sad? What's going on? And Scout is like, I want to see my family. I have gifts for them. I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to give them these gifts. I don't want to be here. This is not where I want to be. No offense to you, Queen, but I don't want to be with you right now. I want to see my grandmother and I want to see my aunts. And so Willow, first of all, fuck Willow. Alright, if you like Willow, because I had like a couple people. Now here's the thing: I'm fine with stray opinions or divergent opinions from mine. You do not have to agree with me at all. But what you're not allowed to do is be rude. And some people get real defensive about their faves, start calling people irrational. I'm not irrational for hating fucking Willow. She did ruin this child's life. Like, I'm not trying to see this because Willow is the reason why this little girl can't see her fucking family, because this crazy man has to defend her honor and give her everything she wants, and the only way to do that is to use this child as a pawn. So that's her fault. All this her fault. She can leave this man. She can stop this shit. She can actually do the work of trying to be better, trying to heal. Like, listen, Michael, I hear you. I know that that was crazy shit. I'm still not okay with you just taking my kids like that, but I'm willing to play your fucking game to see them. I'm gonna get help. I'm gonna go into, therapy. I'm gonna talk about what happened. I'm gonna get my own apartment. I'm gonna live. I'm gonna stand on my own 2 feet. She's not doing none of that. She's not doing none of that. Now she knows he's evil and she's staying with him on shenanigans and bullshit. On shenanigans and bullshit. So I don't like this character. And, not but, and she is looking at this child be sad. And she's like, yeah, I can't actually sit and watch this child be sad like this. And so she goes to Drew and she tells Drew, like, listen, let that child see her family. What's going on? Drew is immediately like, no, I already told Alexis that she can't see her. And if I take it back, then I lose my leverage. What are you fucking talking about, bruh? This is the bridge too far for me. Because you're not even writing this man like a human being anymore. He's like a fucking cartoon villain. Because what do you mean he does not care about his young daughter's happiness? Because she is now nothing to him but leverage. And we need Willow fucking Tate. Willow Tate, who was snatching babies out of nurseries and placing them in random parts of the Quartermaine mansion. We need her to remind this man that his daughter is an actual human being with thoughts and feelings and emotions, even though this is a man who was once upon a time etching his daughter's name into a stone prison wall. How do we get here? How do we get here? This is what I mean when I say that this show learns the wrong lessons from us. I feel like I can't even have a podcast because if they're listening to it, they're not taking the right lessons from anything that I say. Like I said that I don't like a few back like months ago, I was like, I don't like that they write Drew and Willow as being like willfully obtuse to why everyone's fucking mad at them. To be honest, they've never stopped writing them that way. They still write Willow and they still write Drew as if they are completely confused to what the fuck everyone's problem is. Like, well, we just fell in love. We just fell in love. What's the problem? Okay. But the difference is that they finally had them start acting devious, doing devious things, being down for devious things. And I thought that was a good change. Like, y'all seem to at least acknowledge, like, the writers are at least acknowledging that they are on the wrong side of history, that they are doing something that is not okay. Like, okay, I can deal with that. But at no point did I think you should write Willow or fucking Drew like Looney Tunes villain, like cartoon characters. Like, what the fuck is this? Like, why are you legitimately writing Drew like Yosemite Sam? Like, it's very weird to me. It's very weird because this, and here's the thing, I want to make it very clear. This is not a Cameron Matheson problem. This is not a Cameron Matheson problem. This has always been a writing problem. It's always been a writing problem. Because who is Andrew Cain? That's always been my big question. It's been my big question since 2017 when Steve Burton came back. Who is Drew Cain? Who is this person? What are their wants, thoughts, feelings? How do they... And they've never really addressed it. They've never really addressed it. And it's always been a problem. It's always been... Let's get a little background on Drew. Let's get a background on Drew. So Drew is a made up character. Now, I know what you're about to say. All the characters are made up. 100%. But some are more made up than others. Okay? Some are a part of weird story deviations where we all of a sudden we learn that everything we knew from the show's history is completely wrong. And now we got to live with this new reality where these things happen, even though if you go back and watch the scenes from the 80s, none of this happened. None of that happened. A good example of this, not as egregious, but a good example of this is, let me reverse that. The inclusion of Drew is not as egregious as this story, but it's G.O.B. and Brooklyn and Dante's child for the simple fact that Olivia and Sonny had Dante when they were 15, and Brooklyn was born on the show in 1997 to Ned and Lois when they were already in relation with Sonny, and Dante should already be like 10, 11 years old. And so we had to do so much desorazing, resorazing, just machinations to make all of that work. Because as far as I'm concerned, Ned and Lois are, 15 years older than Sonny and Olivia. Because apparently Sonny was 15 in 1997. But that's what I mean. So Drew is kind of like that type of story where they have this character that's like a loose character, just an extra character because of what happened. Let's get into what happened. So in 2012, shakeups happen at GH. Jill Farron Phelps is out as executive producer, and she's going over to Young and the Restless. Steve Burton, who had played Jason for a minute at that point, like maybe almost going on 20 years at that point, he decides that he is going to bounce. He's like, yeah, I'm over it. I don't want to do this anymore. And so he kind of makes it seem like he's going to retire. And then all of a sudden he pops up as Nikki Newman's son over at Young and the Restless. And we're like, oh, okay, sure. So you just want to follow Jill Farron Phelps. That's fine. I'm not, whatever. It's fine. But Jason's dead. He was taken by the harbor. And I was devastated because Jason and I just got back together. I was like, what the fuck? We didn't even know that Danny was Jason's son at the time. Like, but he's gone. Sam is a mess. It's a whole thing. But by early 2014, so like 2 years later, they announced that like, okay, we're gonna bring Jason back because we need Jason on the screen. This is ridiculous. And so we're like, but isn't Steve Burton playing Dylan like McAvoy or whatever on Young and the Restless? Like, what's going on there? And they're like, yeah, we're gonna recast. And we're like, oh, okay, okay. It's a soap. Recasts happen. I know we like to talk about like, ooh, unrecastable characters, but recasts happen. And so they recast with Billy Miller, who's from Young and the Restless. He played Billy Abbott over Young and the Restless. And this is the craziest story you ever seen. Because, like, right now, they're not trying to figure out how to get Drew on the canvas, right? They're like, where the fuck has Jason been? Because, like, he fell into a harbor. Sam jumped in the harbor to try to find him. Sonny jumped in the harbor. We could not find him. He was gone. And so, where the fuck has he been? Well, turns out, Cass and I shenanigans. When in doubt, Cass and I shenanigans. That's how you get out of any tight GH writing, shtick back in the day. You just Cassadine it. The Cassadines got involved. They were doing shenanigans. What could we do? What could we do? Jason's only human, right? And so we have this whole moment where Robin finds Jason, but we never see Jason, right? Because Steve is over in the Restless, so it's not Steve, but it's supposed to look like Steve. And so Robin and Jason are together. He's not saying nothing. You can't see him, but they're together. We're like, we know this. I think Jason like murdered somebody. Just so you know, it's Jason. Like, yes, he can. That's Jason. He's killing people. But Jason murders somebody. They steal a car. They go back to Port Charles. Robin gives a quick recap to Jason in the car that we can't see, not saying nothing. And here's the shit you missed while you've been doing Cass and I shenanigans. And they make it back to Port Charles, but something happens where I think like Jason goes to Sonny's house because he's always going to Sonny's house first. Not to his wife, but to Sonny. But then he gets kidnapped by the Cassadine goons again. And then he's in the car with the goons. He jumps out the car. Jason's in the road. Ava Jerome hits him in the car. Ava Jerome hits him with the car because that's what she does. She also hit Isaiah Gannon with the car. Ava will welcome you to this town with her car. It's very wild. But Ava hits him with the car. And he gets taken to the hospital. He's got like his face is fucked up apparently, and so they got to give him a new face. And so when they take off the bandages. It's Billy Miller. Billy Miller, he's got a new face, got a new voice. Don't understand how you get a new voice, but he got a new voice. Maybe it was like, ooh, he has some vocal cord surgery too. You know, soap shit. Soap shit. But he don't have a memory. He don't have a memory. And so Liz starts calling him Jake Doe. Jake Doe to like remember her son. There's also some weird stuff where Danny keeps running in, little baby Danny, and I think they had changed Danny to be blonde. But little baby Danny keeps running in, holding his hand, and no one knows why, because he's Jake Doe. He's got a new face. But he ends up moving in with like Elizabeth. They start falling in love, but then Rick Lancey comes back to town. Rick Lancey comes back to town, and Rick Lancey's whole end all be all is to be with Elizabeth. That's been his storyline since like 2003. And so he hires Hayden Barnes to pretend to be Jake Doe's wife. But at this point, Elizabeth knows that that's not even Jake Doe, that's Jason. Because Nicholas found out about the Cassadine shenanigans. Yes, honey. And he was like, look, I need him to stay being Jake Doe because I'm trying to steal ELQ. Because I'm on Cassadine time and Cassadine shenanigans now. And so now Liz and fucking Nicholas are doing this fucked up thing. It's kind of giving SA for Liz because she's literally keeping a man from his family. It was a mess. It was a mess. They about to get married. She's literally about to marry this man without a past. And then Carly does some shenanigans with Spinelli where they recreate his old face and it's Steve Burton's face, and they're like, oh my god, it's Jason. So she goes, fucks up the wedding. Sam is like, oh my god, do you remember me? He's like, nah, girl. But and he wants to stay with Elizabeth. But then he finds out that Elizabeth knew who he was. And so he gets mad, reads her ass. Something happens, because I'm not gonna go back and watch this. Something happens where he gets his memories back, JSam back on. Now we're on JSam 3.0. JSam 1.0 is like original JSam. Sexico is 2.0. Now we're on JSam 3.0. And you know what? JSam 3.0 wasn't that bad. It was not that bad. Some people fucking love it. Some of my friends love JSam 3.0 because Jason was out here. He wasn't trying to be in the mob. He was trying to be with Sam. He was trying to be with his family. He was telling Carly and Sonny that he was busy. He's busy doing family shit. Though he was still constantly getting shot for him. Y'all have to admit that. He was constantly still in the shenanigans in Mob Hospital, even while saying he didn't want to be. He was just like more like unwillingly in shenanigans. So he was like, oh, I gotta go do shenanigans. Where, Steve Burton's Jason is like, yep, shenanigans are afoot. And so, but he was still doing shenanigans. Let's keep it cute, okay? That's how, he was in a coma and everything because of shenanigans. But he is putting his family first. Sam gets pregnant. They have a daughter. They name her Scout. We're like, oh my god, we got a J Sam baby, another one, yes. And they got to be pregnant together. It was so beautiful. And then 2017 happens. And then 2017 happens. And in 2017, Steve Burton announces that he wants to come back to General Hospital. He wants to go back to General Hospital. And this is controversial AF. Controversial AF because, like, you have some people who, like myself, because I'm going to keep it so 100 with y'all, I was excited. I love Steve Burton's Jason Morgan. Love it. I've been wanting to make a video about Jason and Sonny, like, as separate characters, but I'm so worried that's going to be, like, an 8-hour long video because they've been on so long. So much has happened. But I love Steve Burton's Jason. And so I'm like, bet. And other people are like, fuck no. Absolutely not. We finally got the Jason who's down for Sam. And I want to keep doing that. And so that happens. Steve Burton comes back. And we learn. Now, we had learned this tea years ago because Carly had been put with Franco because she thought that he was Jason's twin, because we learned about some weird fucking shenanigans where Susan Moore knew she was having twins, but she didn't want to deal with two babies in the Quartermain, so she just gave one to Betsy Frank, and shenanigans, right? So there's two babies. So they just sort of say, like, okay, we can have two Jasons because we already introduced this retcon. That was the word I've been searching for this whole episode. We already introduced this retcon of, like, Susan Moore having twins. And so then the question becomes, who is Jason and who's the twin? Now, I'm going to be so real with y'all. I knew in 2017, as soon as they announced that Steve Burton was coming back, that Steve was Jason. I knew it. There was no point where I was like, they're going to make Steve Burton play a different character. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But there are people fighting me to the damn ground that, like, no, Billy Miller is Jason and Steve is going to end up being Drew. That's not what happened. So eventually, because they have the same DNA, they have the same face, technically, even though Billy Miller is Billy Miller. And all the things, but, like, apparently the fingerprints are different. And so we learned that Steve Burton's is Jason, and now Billy Miller is Drew. Now, you would think at this point we would start to explore who the character of Drew is, right? Who is Drew? You just turned him into a completely new character that we have no idea about. We don't know anything about. We know he was in the Navy, which means he was honorable. He was in the fucking Navy, but that's all we know. And they're not interested in exploring that any further. The rest of the show in 2017 is really dedicated to Jason reclaiming his life back from Drew, because so he gets back. He doesn't want to take any of the money back because Sam is with Drew. And so taking the money from Drew is taking the money from Sam. So he's like, y'all can have that. He immediately joins the mob again and sort of just throws himself into mob hospital. He's like, Sonny's sending him to the island. He's doing coffee shipments. He's doing all the mob hospital shit. At the same time, he clearly wants Sam back. But Sam, they've decided to give her this story where she's like, well, everybody turned their back on Drew. Not really. The only people who turned their back on Drew was Carson. Because Carson was like, ooh, this is the Jason who loves us more than Sam, so we're going to go with this Jason. But everybody else was cool with his ass. Like, Monica was like, listen, I didn't know about you, but if I knew about you, I would have stole your ass from Susan Moore too. Because like I told that bitch, she thinks she tried to steal my husband, so I stole her son. You try to steal my husband, I steal your son. And if I knew she had two sons, I would have stole both of them. Because fuck her. Loved it. Right? Nobody turned their back on Drew. He's running Aurora. In fact, instead of like exploring who he is before, they kind of do a little bit, but it's not even his story. It's J Sam's story. So Sam and Drew are together, but like I said, they really have Sam do this, like, I gotta stay with you because everyone else is abandoning you, but I don't really want you. And at the same time, they got this weird Ned storyline happening where he's mayor of Port Charles and he's like working with evil capitalists who are trying to do fracking under Port Charles, and they cause a big earthquake. And J Sam got investigated. They almost get caught up. They almost get taken into like a sinkhole and they have to jump out. And she declares her love for him. And I realized that this had always been the setup, that they were trying to say that, all that shit y'all watched, all that shit you watched with Jason put his Sam first, that was your first clue. That was your first clue. Jason making Sam stay at home. She's a little trad wife over with, Drew and stuff. That because, ooh, J Sam, they're the action couple. They're doing it. They're getting it done. And I really bought that. I really bought that in like 2018. I was like, yeah, see, this is why you can't. The fandom has split. The fandom has split between J Sam and Dream, right? So Jason and Sam versus Drew and Sam. And I was really out here with my clown makeup on, like, yeah, exactly. Drew got Sam in the house. He's want to go on picnics and stuff. But J Sam, we out here in these streets. We out here solving crimes. We stopping supervillains. We doing all that stuff. And so they put J Sam back together. I'm so happy. And then we get the Donna Day storyline. Uh, the Dawn of Day storyline. And it's like Christina joining a cult, and the cult leader is the son of one of the dudes that Sam scammed into marriage, and he's a weirdo, but then he was also in the Navy with Drew, and he was doing some treasonous shit, stealing money, And so Drew, instead of like exploring Drew in any way, shape, or form, they were just like, Drew was a hero and all that. Drew found out that Shiloh was doing that shit, and he said, absolutely not. He said, absolutely not. We're not doing that. And he, he got medals of honor and shit. And it's like, we don't learn nothing. He's just here being perfect. And why does it say I want to be with him? But also being boring as hell. They're not giving him nothing to do. And so all of a sudden, he's like, now that we have stopped Shiloh, now that we have stopped all that, I need to go take this stolen Afghani gold back to the country of Afghanistan. Let me go do that. And so he goes to do that. But because he was in the Shiloh shenanigans, and the Shiloh shenanigans were actually helping fund Cassadine / Peter August shenanigans. Yes, Peter August, remember him? Peter August ends up killing, quote, quote, killing Drew. And so now Drew gone. Drew is gone, and we didn't have to learn nearly a thing about him. The only other storyline that happens in between them introducing Shiloh and Peter getting Drew gone is the shitty Oscar storyline where they bring Tamara Braun back. Tamara Braun was famously Carly 2. They bring her back as Kim Nero. I will not be using that name because who the fuck is Kim Nero? I will now be referring to her as Carly 2. So Carly 2 had been in a relationship with Drew off screen when he was in the Navy. And they had a son named Oscar who just happened to be dating Jocelyn Jacks. Like, this is so funny that, like, only in Port Charles can Jocelyn Jacks, the daughter of Carly and freaking Jasper Jacks, just happen upon the long lost son of Jason's long lost twin brother. Start dating his ass. It's crazy. That's also like Rick hiring the long lost sister of Elizabeth to pretend to be Jason's long lost twins excuse me, wife. Fucking wild. Fucking wild. The coincidences. But the Oscar shit, that shit was such a weird storyline where he had a brain tumor, but Carly 2 didn't want to tell him. And then he ends up dying in the Quartermain Mansion, and Edward and Lila's ghosts come and take his ass to heaven. And I'm like, there ain't no way Edward went to heaven. There's no way. He must have got a day pass to like walk them to the gates, and then he was dragged straight back to hell. But that's all that we really learned. We learned that, Drew was in the Navy. He had a son with a brain tumor who died. And he was a good dude. He was a good dude who didn't like treason. And that's all we fucking learned about his ass in the entire run that Billy Miller was given. And it's a waste because Billy Miller is such a talented actor. He did so much stuff on Young and the Restless. They just gave him nothing on GH, especially when he became Drew. And so, skip ahead to the pandemic. Let's go to COVID real quick. So Disney institutes a vaccine mandate. I'm not going to talk about it. We don't need to talk about it. Your opinions are your opinions. My opinions are my opinions. But we get this vaccine mandate. Steve Byrne don't want to do it for his own. That's his choice. He don't want to do it. And so Jason gets gone again. Now he's being taken by the cave. It's a very contrived story, once again involving Cassadine shenanigans and maybe Peter August. I don't fucking remember. But I know that like Britt and Jason were there, Sam and Dante, Anna and Valentine. I think Robert showed up at a certain point. It was a lot of couples happening upon like maybe Crete or I don't know, Cassadine Island. I'm not sure which one. But they find Drew. Drew has etched Scout's name into the stone wall. He misses his daughter so much. He's imagining Sam and Scout in the cell with him. Like, this is who he is now. That he has just been locked away. He's been on lockdown. He hasn't been around his baby. He wants to be around his baby, right? Jason gets him out. They bro it up for a second, like, oh my God, you my brother, you my brother. And then Jason gets taken by the cave. And we learn later on that the FBI was in the cave. Whatever. Drew comes home. He comes home on like Thanksgiving. He shows up to the Q mansion with some pizzas. Jason's dead, but I got these Thanksgiving pizzas. Monica's like, oh my God, I'm so, so sad that Jason has died once again. But thank you for these pizzas and welcome home, son. And Drew's back. Drew is back. Like, he's so back, they just start inserting him in the Jason size hole that Steve Burton has left. They have him become like the best uncle slash father figure to Michael because Michael's crashing out over Sona. Because Carson broke up, also because of Sona, they have him start dating Carly, which I kind of hate. Some people love Crew. Tracy from Sunday Shift loved Crew. I was not anti Crew. I was happy that my girl wasn't just out here being alone while Sona was playing in their fucking face like that, but I was never like fully on the cruise ship. Um, and I just don't like that anytime Jason leaves, they have Carly do some weird like flip out bullshit where she got to find the closest Jason replacement to like satiate her Jason needs, and she ends up fucking him. It's very weird. They did it with Franco, and now they do it with Drew, right? But all this stuff happens, and people aren't really feeling it. Like I said, some people like Crew, but when it comes to Drew, they're like, this isn't the character of Drew. And they're like very insistent on that. This isn't the character of Drew. And I'm like, but who is the character of Drew? Like, that's the thing. Like, who's the fucking character of Drew? Because all we've learned about this man is that he was in the Navy, that he was a good dude who didn't want to do treason, and that he had a son with Carly too, who died of a brain tumor, and that he got scouted as a daughter. What do we know? Is that he took over Jason's life. He didn't mean to. Like, what do we know about this character? Because they didn't invest in him. When they had Billy Miller in the role, they just said, we have Steve Burton back. We got this extra character. We'll give him some kind of backstory. We'll make him Jason and Quartermain adjacent. But we're not going to fucking deal with him past, the guarantees we've already promised this man. Which is fucked up on so many different levels. Right? And so when Cameron takes over the role, you get a lot of these like, this isn't the Drew I remember. And I'm like, I don't remember any Drew because they literally just had Steve come back and just be Captain Port Charles immediately. He was getting like, recruited by the PCPD, the WSB. He was still leading Mob Hospital. He was doing all the things. Like, what are we talking about? And they kind of try to have Drew do that on the show, and it makes people mad because, like, he's supposed to be here being Drew, this fucking nothing ass character they didn't invest in, but instead they're making him Jason. But, like, your friendly neighborhood Jason, who's given, like, GMA3 energy. And so a bunch of stuff goes down, like, he gets Aurora back. He's deep in Aurora. Like I said, he gets really close to Michael. He gets really close to Carly. He's close to Jocelyn because of the Oscar stuff. They re-up the friendship between him and Curtis because Billy Miller's Drew was actually close to Curtis when he was on the show. And we see him, doing Jason-esque stuff. Being father figures and stuff. At the same time, they don't know what to do with Willow. They don't know what to do with Willow because they given them all the drama they can give them, and now they're just this white bread couple. So they're like, what if we had Willow be pregnant and have cancer at the same time? Wouldn't that be crazy? And so they did that, and they had her tell nobody nothing. Like, so everyone knows she's pregnant, but they don't know she has cancer. Then everyone finds out she has cancer. And then we find out that Carly knew that Nina was her mom. But that doesn't even fucking matter because Nina can't be a donor. And so then we find out that Liesl could be a donor. But Liesl is once more caught up in Cassadine shenanigans. And so now we gotta save Liesl. Drew is like, don't even trip. I got a plane. I know how to fly it. And so Drew, Curtis, Laura in her best mayoral pantsuit. And I think Anna showed up later. Trina and Spencer were on the stolen Haunted Star that had to go through the Erie Canal to get out to the Atlantic to even do all this. And then Anna came post gunshot wound to save everybody. But Drew flew the plane that like got them to somewhere in Greenland for the Somewhere in Greenland story, and they saved Liesl. And they have Willow have the most outsized fucking reaction to Drew flying this plane to go get Liesl to save her. Like, she gives Drew more credit than Liesl. It was her DNA. It was her fucking stem cells or bone marrow or whatever the fuck that saved her. But she was like, no, Drew did it. And stuff. They have like Willow get married because I guess they needed to get married. The way that the Willow story just dissolves in my brain like fucking quicksand is crazy. But they just have like, she asked Drew to walk her down the aisle, which implies like a fatherly relationship. But she's also, like I said, got this outsized like, oh, I owe you so much ass energy that people on social media start to be like, so what's going on with Drew and Willow? Because what's happening here? That's so fucking weird. That's so weird. And all of the sudden, on July 4th, 2024, they have Drew kiss Willow. What? Now, I will give you credit for gagging me because I was gagged. I did not see it coming. But I was immediately confused because I'm like, what the fuck's going on? Because they haven't really put anything between Willow. All the things they put between Willow seem like, getting you back. Like, I got you back. So you lied to me about having cancer, and then I lied to you about, like, making your mom stay away from you because you don't fucking like her anyway, bitch. So I don't understand why you mad anyway. But I'm sorry, I was so upset during that time because Willow, what do you want? Like, do you like this hoe or not? But Mellow's not really having any problems. So it's kind of like, okay, well, I get that, she constantly has this weird outsized reaction to Drew saving her life, even though, to be honest, Laura in her mayoral pantsuit did way more to save Willow than fucking Drew. Anna should get more credit. I feel like Spencer and Trina were doing more than fucking Drew. Okay. But she's only giving Drew the credit. And so now they're having this emotional affair. Fucking playing in Michael's face. And it goes to where, like, okay, so they end up kissing again, talking about it in the most public places. The babes of Port Charles are finding out. They're telling people. Like, I think James told Ned, which is so fucking funny. Ned hires a private investigator. They end up like cornering Drew. Drew crashes out, tells Michael. Michael crashes out, sleeps with Sasha. She gets pregnant. Now he's hiding a loose baby. But then Sam dies. Sam dies because Cyrus Renault is on some fucking serial killing for the Lord ass kick where he's trying to kill Lulu, and Sam saved her with her liver, and so he said you got in the way of the Lord's plan. He had to take out Sam, was the whole thing. And so now Sam is dead. And this becomes the excuse for Willow and Drew to sleep together. Yes. Why? How? How come? Why? Why? But they sleep together. And of course, for plot reasons, for plot purposes, Michael just got cameras in that nursery. And so he sees the whole thing in HD. He sees his wife just riding his uncle in HD. Doesn't say nothing, just keeps the video on his phone. Then we go to this weird 2024 was a weird year where we didn't have Thanksgiving. We did not have Thanksgiving. It was like one of the first times in years that we didn't, because GH is kind of a Thanksgiving soap. Like, we have the whole, Quartermains have pizza, all that, but we didn't have it. We have a weird in between Thanksgiving and Christmas ass family party where they're trying to watch the game, but they're also trying to be a family. Monica's upstairs and people are using Michael's fucking phone to like work the television. And so, of course, Willow and Drew fucking in the nursery pops up on the television for everyone to see. Whole family breaks out. Everybody mad. Now, this is where the story really falls apart. This is where the story really falls apart, because instead of having Drew and Willow feel any type of shame, they all just get real indignant. Both of them get real indignant, like, well, y'all do stuff. Like, I don't even know why y'all mad, because y'all out here doing stuff. Like, Ned, didn't you fuck Monica back in the day? Ned has to be like, bruh, I didn't know that was Monica, though. Like, I didn't know her. She was just a woman that I was teaching tennis to, and then I found out in the aftermath that that was my uncle's wife. So it's not the same. And then, he bringing up some Tracy shenanigans. He trying to bring up all these shenanigans. Willow, on the other hand, is just like, I can't believe you knew I cheated on you. You didn't fucking tell me. Bitch, what are you talking about? So you are the cheater, but you mad at him for not like setting you free quicker so you could cheat with less guilt? Okay. Okay. And by the way, the like level of closeness between, because it was like Willow and Drew slept together at like on Halloween at like 8:30. No, it was something else. It was like Michael had done too much, where I think Michael had slept with like Sasha, then went and slept with Willow, way too close together. But they're just indignant. They're like, we did nothing wrong. Everybody's wilding. Everybody does bad shit. All we did was fall in love. And it's the most annoying writing, because, like, if you don't understand as a full ass adult why sleeping with your husband's uncle or sleeping with your nephew's wife is a fucking problem for not just your nephew, but the whole goddamn shared family that you share a home with, that, like, no, y'all have to go. Y'all actually have to fucking go. You can't live. You can't stay here. Right? And so they get the fuck out. Willow snatches them kids, and Michael, like, because he doesn't want to have to, like, fight her for his kids in front of his kids at night when they're, like, confused and sleepy. He lets her do it. She takes him to Nina's house. Within, like, a month, Drew's like, moving with me. Moving with me. First, he took her to DC. He was like, I'm going to get sworn in. You should take your son across state lines. She doesn't think to ask Michael. Why? Why? Why wouldn't you do that? And, like, it's not even like oh my God, I'm so sorry. It's like, I didn't think it'd be a problem. You didn't think that your husband would have a problem with you taking their baby on a date with his uncle to DC on an out of state, like, overnight fucking date? You didn't have a problem with that? You didn't think he'd have a problem with that? Okay. And so then Michael gets caught up in that explosion that they don't even care about. We don't even talk about it anymore. It's like a plot device to explain why Michael's pissed off. But he gets caught up in that explosion, gets sent to Germany, and, like, Willow ends up, like, having a fight for her kids, decides to cut off Carson from seeing him because she's still technically his wife, threatening to make fucked up decisions for him if she can't get her kids back. But they don't even have her kids because they took them back to the Quartermains because that's where they live. And now Tracy's going hard, and Tracy don't answer to Carson. Tracy straight told Sonny, go to hell. Go to hell, I'm not giving the kids back. And so it's a whole thing where they end up getting Tracy Quartermain arrested. None of this makes them look good. None of this makes them look good because they're still writing this as if there are good people on both sides and that both sides are wrong. No, Drew and Willow are wrong as hell. That's it. That's just it. And then you get, like, all the other characters getting folded into this, right? So Black Hospital gets folded in because Curtis had teamed up with Michael on some shenanigans bullshit. You got, Alexis getting roped in because she scouts, like, grandmother and all this. Everything gets messy. And then around the summer when they finally bring Roy Gibson on as Michael, there's a dramatic shift in writing for Willow and Drew. There's just a dramatic shift where, like, they start being written. Like I said, they're still doing this, like, aloofness of, like, we did nothing wrong. But it's very clear that the writers understand that they're the bad guys. They're the bad guys in the story. Even though they're going up against Mob Hospital, they're going up against the Quartermains, they are the fucking bad ones. Like, if Mob Hospital were the bad ones in the Michael of it all, which I don't think they were being written like that, but, but if they were the bad ones, that's who Drew and Willow are now. They're the bad ones who do not care about these kids. They only care about their own fucking comfort. And so we go through the trial. Willow loses custody. And you would think this would be the big turning point of this, right? That where Willow starts to see stuff. But no, she's mad at Drew for about 10 seconds, then agrees to marry him because she thinks that it's going to be better for whatever. Goes to the church to get married, finds out that Drew been fucking Nina. But he hasn't though, right? Because that's another thing, is that because they wanted to make Drew and Willow viable, he wasn't fucking her when he was actually with Willow. He was fucking her when him and Willow were having that emotional affair that they shouldn't have been having because she was married. And he actually tries to say that to her, and she's like, no, shut up. And so she leaves him. She's mad at him for about a week and a half, and then decides that because Michael won't immediately capitulate to her, that she must get back with him to like get her kids back, and tries to do like some bamboozle shit on him. But then they just write her as like, you're not really sure if she's like still under his spell or if this is an act. They've only recently cleared that up, that she don't fuck with him, that she don't like him. But now we're just writing Drew as this crazy psychotic villain who's willing to do all these things. And you know what? When it was just to Michael, when it was just to Sonny, when it was just to Curtis, and I didn't like how he was talking to Curtis and Portia, but at least they're adults, right? Like, Alexis can handle herself. But now let's go back to Friday. Let's go back to Friday. Now he's willing to let his daughter be sad on Christmas to get one over on Alexis, and by extension Jason, because she also wants to see her brother and he won't allow that. This is not a real character anymore. This is not a real character because y'all refuse to actually have him deal with the real issues that he should have been dealing with this entire time. And that is that he does not know who he is. That he does not feel welcome any place. He doesn't feel a part of the family. He doesn't, that is where the anxiety is coming from. And that every time Jason returns, it just reminds him that he's not Jason. That like the storyline for Drew should always be that he is a Jason replacement. He's a Jason filler. Like, oh, do you need a Jason fix? But Jason is currently dead. Let's go talk to Drew. Let's date him. Let's marry him. Let's like invite him to family functions. Let's do all this. But the second Jason comes back, we don't know this man. Jason's back. That should have been the story from Jump. That should have been the fucking story in 2018. Like, if you were gonna have Drew go crazy, he should have went crazy the second he learned he wasn't Jason. But instead, you did nothing. You did absolutely nothing. When Drew came back as Cameron Matheson, you could have started to deal with it. Instead, you had him like worship Jason. Be like, that's my brother. He tried to save me. He was a good man. And then when Jason came back, you kind of have this start a little bit where he's like, well, you kept Jason in the house, Carly. You didn't tell me. You always gonna put Jason first, so I'm leaving you. And then you saw the audience reaction where everyone was like, fuck you, Drew. And you pulled back on that immediately. And you haven't had him be really on Jason's neck. Like, Jason is so secondary to this. Like, the Danny part of it is how Jason is connected. But, like, he goes after Scout, way more than he goes after Jason. Because Scout is connected to so many people, right? And so, having him go through all these years, all these returns, these deaths, these run-ins with Jason, for him to just now be crashing out like this, he doesn't give a fuck. And then, like, to crash out hard enough where he doesn't give a fuck about his daughter. Like, this is the kind of behavior you give Sonny Corinthos when he's off his fucking medication. This is crazy behavior. This is not serious. This is Whitey's African Warlord writing. And not even, because Whitey's African Warlord has several contingency plans that protects his son if shit goes wrong. At this point, I'm convinced that Drew would sell Scout to a old woman for some magic beans that will make Willow love him more again. Like, what's going on? What's happening here? What are you doing to this character? And how do we get it to stop? I want it to stop. Please, Lord, help us, please. Like, I don't even need him to go back to being a good dude. I don't need him to go back to being GMA 3, Drew Cain. But this is actually crazy. He has no anchoring point. He has nothing that differentiates him between himself and his bad fucking choices. He's just like a bad dude. And the fact that Willow even has to beg him to let his daughter see the people she would like to see on Christmas. Why are you writing him like Ebenezer Scrooge? Pre-haunting. Like, is that what has to happen? We have to have Oscar come back and Monica and fucking Alan, who we ain't never met, come like as the three ghosts of Christmas past, present, and future to get that man to calm down? And so, okay, I've spoken a lot. It's almost an hour, so I'm gonna stop. If you like this, feel free to like and subscribe. I don't know. Maybe I'll do more of these videos. Y'all let me know in the comments if you want more. We need to talk about videos with certain characters. What characters do you think we need to talk about that have gone so terribly wrong that we just need to talk about them? Because, like, what's happening here? Like, what's going on? But thank you for listening, and I will hopefully the next time you hear me, it'll be the recap for the week. But thank you, everyone. Bye.